Hey there, my name is Brandon and welcome to my review of the FX30. I haven't made a video in quite some time, and that is just because I have been using this camera. So this you're seeing here is the FX30. Always mistaken for the FX3, but for a good reason. So just like the FX3, it has the same housing and appearance, but instead inside holds a Super 35 sensor. I honestly think that the FX30 is overlooked a lot just because of the fact that it is a Super 35 camera and doesn't have that full frame look, but I hope to convince some of you that have been looking at the FX3 or the FX30 or just trying to get into Sony. I can maybe turn for you to look at the FX30 and maybe think, oh, hey, I mean, it's not so bad after all. I know if you look around, the scenery is definitely different than what some of y'all may be used to. I'm actually visiting Utah for a little bit, back where I used to live before I moved to Texas, and I'm just spending some time here with friends and family. Now, I do want to say that I may be a little bit rusty since I haven't been on this YouTube game for a while, so I made sure to have some notes for me today to refer to just in case I forget one, but most of the time I'm just going to ramble the things I love about the FX30. I think that if you see some of the shots that I'm showing you here now, that this camera is far more capable than you think. I believe that as long as you know what you're doing in lighting, composing, you can make a Super 35 sensor look great. To give y'all an idea of why I purchased the FX30 was I was primarily looking for a new workhorse camera. Now, I was never with Sony, and I actually used to film and shoot photos with the Canon R6 Mark II. That thing was a great hybrid camera, but I slowly started transitioning back into video only, and I found that I came a lot across different issues of overheating, and I didn't really like the recording codecs or the options they had for when you were going to go into video mode. Many of the things that I do for my clients is filming like anything long form, and if they want that at the max specs, 4K 60, C-Log 3 10-bit, that thing would heat up fast and it wouldn't even be 30-40 minutes that temperature bar is going up, and it just made me anxious, and I would always have to kind of fiddle and play these like weird games by like turning off the camera and waiting and booting it back up when something's happening. But as some of y'all know, when it comes to events like that, trying to turn it back on and capture things right in the moment, you probably already missed 2 or 3 seconds of emotion, and at that point it's already too late. So I did try to combat that issue by getting a fan from Ulanzi, and that was nice and it did help a little bit. But the problem was that I had to also keep that charged, and if I was doing some sort of handheld rig, it was okay because I would mount the camera, battery, and also the fan to keep it running. But if I were to switch to a gimbal, now we have all these accessories on and wires, and it just made it much more bulkier than it needed to be. Looking at other Canon options, there really wasn't anything that could defeat the overheating issues besides the C70, but the C70 is like way above my range. I just couldn't go that route anymore, so I thought, okay, well, let me look into Sony. And at the time, it just happened that the FX3 and the FX30 were at their peak, and I just thought, well, if I'm going to completely swap systems, then the FX3, the price was just too much. For all we know, I might have not liked Sony at all, and I kind of wanted to take a lukewarm dive into it first before I completely committed to a system. And so I found the FX30, and the price range was sensible to me, and I just sold all my Canon lenses and got the Sigma 18-55, I believe, or 18-50, and that thing paired very well with this camera, and small, light, compact, and I was able to use that for my first couple of shoots. Right now I'm using the 24-105, and that's one of my favorite lenses ever. So the FX30 actually has a 6K sensor built inside, but it downsamples to 4K, giving you that much more of an enhanced image. On the 24-105, I already get more of a crop, and sometimes I'm like way back in the room. you can crop in more with the rocker on top. And this actually came in handy during my gigs where I might be in the back of a conference room and I just need to get a little tighter on those speakers, on the talent, and that's why I love that camera. If I were to record it long form with FX3 or FX30 and I know that I need to get an extra zoom, that FX30 is going to be the main camera. Like I mentioned earlier, just like the FX3, has all the same bells and whistles, meaning the fan, the tally lights, and the option to have that top handle. And my favorite, the tally lights. I love that when I'm able to start rolling and I can be around the room, adjust, and make sure I be talking to the producer or the client, whatever it may be, and I can look on over and I know that my camera's still rolling. It has a tally light on the top, tally light on the back, and even on the front. So you can see it from multiple angles and you know that you are still recording and you haven't ran out of space. Having that assortment of recording codecs, 4K, 60, 10-bit, 422, 420, and not only 10-bit in log like Canon, I had to be in C-Log 3 to shoot 10-bit. I could also shoot 10-bit in S-Cinetone and Rec 709. I know they're baked in profiles, but having that flexibility, like a just-in-case for your client, is always great.
These examples here you are seeing are from my recent mini doc, the main camera being the FX30. And as you can see, this camera performs best in controlled environments with care in shaping your image. And this one will be coming up soon.
All right, Brandon, enough of the work talk. What if you're someone that just wants this for leisure, for travel, to record home videos, or just make your own little films? How does that perform? Or is this just a workhorse camera? You can go about this in two different ways. In my honest opinion, I think that if you were someone that was just looking for a true hybrid, you want something that could take great photos for your family or yourself and just a couple clips here and there, you probably could look into the A67 or the A6000 lineup. I think it's also great for travel as well because in this case scenario, I also love the FX3, by the way. I know that we're kind of doing a versus thing, but the difference here is that, for example, if I were traveling like here, I know for the most part we're chilling, but if I were to go somewhere else that I don't really know and I don't have really family there and I'm gonna be putting these in a hotel and putting these on a plane and everything, and that just brings the anxiety more higher than I would have it. And just imagining carrying a camera like the FX3 and more full frame glass kind of makes me a little, you know, there's a little chip on my shoulder, and if something breaks or the camera drops or just different elements that you will face during travels. For example, here I went on a camping trip with my friend Caleb, and it was brutal up in those canyon lands. Dust blowing everywhere, winds, all that stuff. That even the tripod, it was rocking the camera. As beautiful as these shots are, I was worried about the camera. And if anything were to happen to this one, I mean, I still would be sad, but maybe not as sad as if it was an FX3, which is almost double the price of the FX30. So I want to make this easy for those of you who are looking into other Sony cameras around this price range. A6700 shares the same sensor, 6K native, but downsamples to 4K, so you still get that same image. It has an EVF, which is great in the sun like this, but it can overheat. But if you're someone who's just making content, getting clips in no longer than 30 minutes, even though it can go past 30 minutes, it also has a mechanical shutter, I believe, which this does not. So that makes it better for photo as well. A7C II, I think it's the same thing. You've got that full frame look and you have the photo capabilities because of the EVF. So it's another hybrid, but you also have great looking video. So it's best of both worlds, but I wouldn't call it something that is a workhorse. That is something that you use more for like professional leisure type stuff. Like, you know, you're gonna be traveling, you're gonna be taking really good photos, but you also want some good video. I think that would be better for you. All right, so what if you're not a Sony guy? I wanted to add this portion for those who are kind of looking for another brand. In my opinion, I was very, very close into getting another Panasonic camera, maybe the GH6 or the GH7. I know that just came out. I actually had a good time with the GH5S for when it came out and what it can give you for the price you pay for. And the lens options you have, you can go from the micro four thirds all the way up to full frame, and you can just mount different things. And I think it's a great option for those who are more crafty with their filmmaking. And same thing goes for Fuji. I absolutely love the XT line, and I still have one just for photos, and I'll occasionally do some video on it, but colors are great, picture profiles are great, and it's easy for me to work with F-Log. And usually what you pay for Fuji, it might be on more like the mid-range, and at that point you might just jump over to Sony just for autofocus. But for those of you who are kind of like that more manual control with the physical dials and just the color science, Fuji is a great option. Well, it looks like I made it all the way to the end of my NX cards. I know that this video has been different from the others, and I kind of had a new system. I hope it wasn't too weird, made too much noise, me moving all these cards. I'm not at home, so please forgive me for that. But we made it all the way through the end here. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. And do you agree with me and disagree with me? To those of you who own this camera or have used it, please let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a thumbs up. It would mean a lot. And I really hope I get back into this YouTube game. It's nice just kind of setting this stuff up and hitting record and just having fun. Maybe we can catch up another time. Hope you guys have a nice rest of your day, month,
and year.
Until next time. Peace.